In the underworld, silence is the only currency that matters. You can have the money, the muscle, and the territory, but if you cannot keep your mouth shut, you are already dead. For decades, the biggest problem for the UK's heavyweights was not the police dog sniffing a suitcase or a rival kicking down the door. It was the data. Phone records. Text messages. The digital breadcrumbs that turn a business meeting into a conspiracy charge. So, when a device hit the streets that promised total military-grade invisibility, the underworld did not just buy it, they worshipped it. It was called EncroChat, a customized Android handset with the microphone, camera, and GPS physically removed. No SIM card associations. No way to trace it. A panic white button that could delete a life's work of crime in seconds. It cost thousands of pounds just for a 6-month subscription. And for the heavy hitters of Liverpool, London, and Manchester, it was a small price to pay for playing God. They thought they were ghosts. They spoke openly about murders, multi-kilo cocaine shipments, and international trafficking routes, believing they were whispering in a vacuum. They believed the police were dinosaurs, too slow and too stupid to catch up with encrypted tech. But arrogance is a funny thing. It blinds you. It makes you feel so safe that you stop looking over your shoulder. It makes you comfortable, and comfort is where the mistakes happen. This is the story of a man who moved millions of pounds worth of class A drugs. A man who sat at the top of the food chain in Liverpool, thinking he was untouchable behind a wall of code. He was not brought down by a snitch. He was not caught in a high-speed chase. He was not even caught with the drugs in his hands. He was destroyed by a block of cheese. This is the story of Carl Stewart. And this is how one stupid picture cost him everything. To understand the magnitude of this mistake, you have to understand the man. Carl Stewart was not a street corner hustler. He was not the kid running 10 bags of weed on a moped. In the hierarchy of Liverpool's organised crime, a city that arguably serves as the drug importation capital of the UK, Stewart was a principal. He was a wholesaler, operating under the handle Toffeeforce. A nod to his obsession with Everton Football Club, Stewart was a phantom. To the public, he was nobody. To the police, he was a ghost. But on the encrypted network, he was a CEO. The year is 2020. The world is locking down. The COVID-19 pandemic has turned the streets quiet. For the average citizen, it was a time of isolation and fear. But for the UK's organised crime groups, the pandemic was a logistical nightmare that turned into a gold mine. With fewer cars on the road, moving product became harder, but the price of cocaine skyrocketed. If you could move the weight, you could name your price. Stewart was moving weight. Lots of it. His EncroChat messages, which would later be read out in a quiet courtroom to a stunned jury, painted a picture of a man drowning in supply. He was not dealing in ounces. He was dealing in blocks. He was coordinating the movement of heroin, cocaine, MDMA, and ketamine. He was a distinct cog in a very violent machine. In one exchange, he is discussing the sale of a firearm. In another, he is coordinating the arrival of a container. He felt safe. Why would not he? He was holding a device that the terrifying cartels of South America and the mafia clans of Europe trusted with their lives. The psychology of the EncroChat user is fascinating. Because they believed the police could not see them, their digital personas became hyper-real. They did not use code words anymore. They stopped saying food or work. They just said cocaine. They sent pictures of kilogram bricks stamped with logos, stacking them like trophies. They bragged. And that is where Stewart began to slip. When you are a ghost, you crave recognition. You want to show off the spoils of war. But you can't post on Instagram. You can't put it on Facebook. So the EncroChat network became their social media. It became a private club where gangsters could flex for other gangsters. But Stewart was about to make a mistake that defied all logic. A mistake so mundane, so suburban, that it almost sounds like a joke. It was May 2020. The UK is deep in lockdown. The pubs are closed. The restaurants are shuttered. Everyone is stuck at home, trying to find small joys in groceries and takeout. Carl Stewart, the hardened criminal, the man moving kilos of heroin, is no different. He takes a trip to Marks and Spencer. He picks up a block of cheese. Specifically, a block of Marks and Spencer mature blue Stilton. He goes home. He is chatting on his £3,000 encrypted phone to a business associate, another heavy hitter in the drug trade. He wants to show off his purchase. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it was a weird flex about buying premium groceries while the world burned. He holds the small block of cheese in the palm of his hand. He aims the camera of his EncroChat device, a camera that should not even be enabled on a secure phone, but often was for evidence of drug quality, and he snaps a picture. Click. He hits send. In that fraction of a second, the data packet travels through the encrypted servers in France, bounces back to his associate's phone, and the image loads. A block of blue cheese, held in a hand. To Stewart, it was nothing. A throwaway moment. A bit of banter between criminals. He did not know that the walls of his fortress had already been breached. 2 months earlier, in a secret operation that would change the face of global policing, French and Dutch investigators had done the impossible. They had not just cracked EncroChat, they had weaponized it. They had pushed a malware update to every single device in the world. The gangsters thought they were updating their security software. In reality, they were installing a police spy in their pockets. For months, the National Crime Agency in the UK, the British FBI, was sitting in a dark room. Watching. They were reading millions of messages in real time. They saw the murder plots, they saw the drug routes, they saw the money laundering. But they had a problem. Anonymity. They knew Toffeeforce was a major player in Liverpool. They knew he was moving massive amounts of Class A drugs. They knew he was dangerous, but they did not know who Toffeeforce was. In a court of law, you cannot charge a nickname. You have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the human being in the dock is the person who typed the messages. The defense lawyers are expensive. They will argue that anyone could have used the phone, or that the device was shared. The police needed a link. They needed a smoking gun. They had teams of analysts sifting through thousands of images. Pictures of dogs, pictures of gardens, pictures of watches. They were looking for reflections in mirrors, familiar landmarks in the background, anything that could tie the digital ghost to a physical address. And then, they found the cheese, Tyrion. At first glance, it is useless. It is a hand holding a packet of cheese. There is no face, there is no background, there is no GPS tag. But forensic science has come a long way since the days of dusting for prints with powder and a brush. The police zoomed in. They did not look at the cheese, they looked at the hand holding it. Specifically, they looked at the palm. And the fingers. The human hand is a biometric map. The ridges, the swirls, the valleys of the skin, they are unique to every single individual on Earth. Usually, to get a fingerprint match, you need a high-resolution scan or a clean press onto an ink pad. But the camera on the EncroChat phone was good. The lighting in Stewart's house was clear. The NCA's forensic imaging team began to map the ridges visible in the photograph. They isolated the lower part of the palm and the fingers wrapping around the Stilton. They enhanced the contrast. They reversed the lighting. They created a digital fingerprint from a photograph of a hand. Then, they ran it through the police national database. Carl Stewart was not a new face to the law. He had a record. His prints were on file. The computer whirred. It searched through millions of records. And then, it pinged. Match. The ridges on the hand of Toffeeforce, the mysterious drug lord, matched perfectly with the ridges on the hand of Carl Stewart. The irony is suffocating. Stewart paid thousands of pounds for a phone designed to leave no trace. He used a network designed to scrub metadata. He operated in a world of shadows. And he identified himself with the same clarity as handing over his passport, all because he wanted to show off a block of cheese. The police did not rush. They let the evidence pile up. Now that they knew Toffeeforce was Carl Stewart, every message he sent was a confession. They watched him discuss the sale of cocaine. They watched him organize the logistics of heroin distribution. They watched him talk about the immense profits he was making. Every word he typed was another nail in his own coffin. On May 24th, the game was over. Merseyside Police executed a series of synchronized raids. They did not knock. They took the doors off the hinges. When they arrested Stewart, he was likely confused. He probably thought he would been careful. He probably thought he would been ratted out by a snitch. He had no idea that the police had been reading his diary for months. He was charged with conspiracy to supply cocaine, conspiracy to supply heroin, conspiracy to supply MDMA, and conspiracy to supply ketamine. When he was sitting in the interview room, the detectives would have laid it out for him. They would not have just shown him the messages, they would have shown him the picture. Imagine that moment. Imagine the sinking feeling in your stomach. You are looking at a printout of a photo you took. A photo of cheese. And the detective points to your hand and says, "That is you, Carl. We know it is you." The defense had nowhere to go. There was no way to argue it. The biometrics were irrefutable. Stewart had no choice but to plead guilty. He stood in Liverpool Crown Court, a man who thought he was a criminal mastermind, now reduced to a punchline. The judge did not find it funny. Judge Robert Trevor Jones told Stewart that he had played a leading role in a conspiracy that flooded the streets of the UK with misery. He spoke of the violence, the addiction, and the decay that men like Stewart profit from. The sentence was handed down. 13 years and 5 months. He was sent down to rot in a cell, knowing that he would miss his children growing up, miss the world changing, all because of his own hubris. But the story did not end with his sentencing. The photo went viral. Merseyside Police, usually dry and clinical in their press releases, released the image of the cheese. The internet devoured it. Carl Stewart became a meme. He became the face of the dumb criminal, the Stilton snitch. He had spent his life trying to build a reputation as a feared gangster. He wanted to be known as a man of respect, a man of power. Instead, he will forever be known as the man who loved cheese so much. He went to prison for a decade for it. There is a lesson here, one that the underworld is learning the hard way. There is no such thing as a secret anymore. We live in a world of total surveillance. But the cameras are not just on the street corners. They are not just in the police helicopters. The most dangerous camera is the one you hold in your hand. Carl Stewart thought he was paying for privacy. He thought encryption was a shield. But encryption cannot protect you from your own stupidity. It cannot protect you from the human need to share, to brag, to be seen. The EncroChat hack brought down hundreds of criminals. It seized tons of drugs and millions in cash. It stopped hitmen in their tracks. But among the tales of violence and betrayal, the story of the cheese stands out. It serves as a reminder that no matter how sophisticated the technology becomes, the weakest link in any criminal enterprise is always the human being operating it. Carl Stewart wanted a taste of the high life. He wanted the money, the power, and yes, the premium blue cheese. He got the cheese. And it cost him 13 years of his life. Was it worth it? I guess he will have a long time to think about that.